Kyle, the new prisoner, is dragged into the combat arena of Krubby Prison, a notorious fortress for the most violent criminals. His opponent is the reigning prison fight champion, Andre, a man feared across the prison for his deadly skill. The air is thick with tension as inmates and guards alike place bets, shouting odds over the clamor. Even the warden leans against the rail with a wicked grin. "I give you 20-1 on Andre," he announces, counting his money as if the lives around him were mere chips. A few spectators mutter, "No way! This American can win." All eyes fixate on Kyle, the frail-looking newcomer, expecting him to last only seconds. The arena buzzes with anticipation as the guards lock the doors, ensuring no one can flee this spectacle. The fight begins, and Andre's experience quickly overwhelms Kyle. Blow after blow knocks him to the ground, each strike more punishing than the last. Yet Kyle rises again and again, driven by an unyielding willpower that surprises everyone. Just when it seems hopeless, he spots an opening and delivers a heavy punch. Andre, enraged, retaliates with a ferocious counterattack, slamming Kyle to the ground and ramming his legs against a cold metal pole. But Kyle's resolve is unbreakable. He strikes back with a swift kick to Andre's groin, leaps onto him, and rips open his windpipe. Blood spills across the arena as Andre collapses lifelessly. Kyle roars, a primal sound that silences the crowd. The transformation from meek newcomer to unstoppable force leaves everyone stunned. 1 year earlier, Kyle LeBlanc was an American engineer working in Magnitogorsk, Russia. His job at a mining plant paid little and demanded long hours, keeping him away from home. "Feel like I never see you anymore," his wife Gray would complain. He immediately takes leave, calling Gray on the way to tell her he's almost home. She beams with excitement, oblivious to the danger lurking nearby. Suddenly, the signal drops, and the power cuts out at home. Gray fumbles for a flashlight, checking the fuse box in confusion. When Kyle calls again, he hears her scream. A man emerges from the shadows, attacking her. Heart pounding, Kyle speeds toward home, knocking over stalls and calling the police. Gray resists fiercely, choosing death over submission, but the attacker stabs her. Kyle arrives moments too late to save her, only to be struck from behind and watch the man flee. Fueled by rage, he chases the attacker, catching him on a tram. A savage fight ensues, crashing through a window onto the street. Kyle attempts to subdue him but is knocked down, continuing the chase despite injuries, until police arrive and arrest him for street fighting. In court, the criminal, Sergio Kovic, is declared not guilty due to bribery and influence. Enraged by the injustice, Kyle snaps, grabs a guard's gun, and kills Kovic. He is sentenced to life in prison without parole. He is sent to the infamous and brutal Krubby Prison, a remote fortress that houses the most dangerous and violent criminals. Fights are routine. The warden is corrupt and ruthless, profiting from prison fights with no regard for the inmates' lives or deaths. Alongside him is Billy, a young American whose looks draw unwanted attention. The warden intimidates them, showing a beaten escapee. On his first day, Kyle's possessions are confiscated, including his wedding ring, the last link to Gray. Forced to shower and have his head shaved, he notices later that a guard wears his ring. In the middle of the night, he sees Billy led away by guards bribed by Andre, who assaults him that night. The screams echo, robbing Kyle of sleep. The next morning, the sight of Andre making a lewd gesture triggers Kyle's fury. A fight breaks out, ending with Kyle dragged into solitary confinement, a dark, fetid cell with a thin slab for a bed in a sewage-filled gutter. Kyle loses hope, attempting suicide in vain. A moth flutters through the broken window, reminding him of Gray, sparking a fragile will to live. Voices from neighboring cells offer lifelines, bringing him back from despair. Released from solitary, Kyle is assigned a new cell with a single occupant, inmate 451, feared for killing 3 previous cellmates. Surprisingly calm and organized, 451 reads, journals, and keeps the cell tidy. Kyle's panic fades as he observes this strange tranquility. Daily routines consist of hard labor under the scorching sun. During a visit from his brother-in-law, Paul, Kyle learns Gray's body has been returned home. Paul urges him to bribe the guards, but Kyle silently defies the corrupt system, staring down the indifferent guards with quiet resolve. One day in the prison yard, tensions flare when Andre intentionally hurls a ball at Kyle, but it accidentally strikes a member of a rival gang. Chaos erupts as the two groups clash violently, and guards rush in just in time to separate them. "You want to fight? Go to Sparka," they shout, referring to the official battleground for sanctioned fights. Kyle steps aside and begins talking with Billy, a fellow American serving a 1.5-year sentence for crashing into a restaurant while drunk. Soon, Malachi, an American in a wheelchair, joins them. He explains that Andre belongs to the Russian mafia, and the man beside him, Bolt, is their leader. They run the place through the guards. The rest just try to kill each other, Malachi says, warning Kyle to bribe the guards if he wants a safer cell. That night, Kyle dreams of Gray's brutal murder. His body shakes uncontrollably, and suddenly 451 clamps a hand over Kyle's mouth and nose. Just as suffocation threatens, 451 releases him, annoyed by the noise. Kyle, rattled, cannot sleep again. The following day during meals, Andre shows up and harasses Kyle. Billy steps in, but his friends pull him back, preventing escalation. Later, Kyle attempts to bribe a guard with the little money he has, hoping for a transfer. The guard scoffs at the small sum. Kyle swallows his humiliation, realizing he's been played. Music blares in the yard, drawing inmates into a wild dance. Kyle learns it's a prison tradition tied to gang rivalries. 3 major gangs constantly fight, and the corrupt warden, General Hushov, profits by allowing organized bouts. General Khrushchev bets with wealthy friends, leaving inmates at the mercy of brutality. Andre, the reigning champion, dominates the ring, knocking out opponents in mere rounds. Even when his opponent is down, Andre refuses to stop, obeying only the warden. Billy averts his gaze, unable to watch the carnage. Gang clashes erupt during the fights, prompting guards to intervene once more. Kyle asks Malachi if 451 ever fights. "You refused, that's why he's alive," comes the reply. Guards profit from throwing inmates into cells with stronger opponents as twisted rewards. Billy, sent to Andre's cell, tries defending himself with a sharpened toothbrush, but accidentally harms himself, ending up in the infirmary humiliated. The next day, Andre orders a savage beating for Kyle during work, while guards turn a blind eye. Kyle is thrown into solitary once more. In isolation, he befriends the inmate in the next cell through wall cracks. Weeks pass, and Kyle survives, emerging mentally sharper but still wary as Andrew taunts him. That night, Kyle sneaks a peek at 451's journal, noting it states he lives only for revenge. Caught red-handed, Kyle closes it quickly. Provoked again by Andre and his gang, Kyle finally fights back, punching Andre but quickly overwhelmed. Guards intervene just in time. Solitary confinement follows, with torrential rain flooding his cell. Despair turns into resolve. Only violence can suppress violence. Kyle begins relentless training, climbing walls, lifting weights, and running to build strength. Meanwhile, Billy keeps failing escape attempts. Months pass, and Kyle transforms into a hardened fighter. Muscles rippling, his resolve ironclad, he enters his first official fight, brutally eliminating Andre. The prison watches in shock. 451 observes Kyle with concern, noting the changes. Kyle becomes a rising star in the underground fight scene, feared and respected. His hair slicked back and face hardened, he assumes the role of a gang leader, losing touch with his former self. During a visit, Paul offers hope, arranging for the ambassador to intervene, but Kyle dismisses it. On Russian Independence Day, Kyle faces Valya, a hostile new prisoner sent specifically to challenge him. Meanwhile, Billy tries another escape but is betrayed by Malachi, who alerts the guards. Billy is locked overnight with Valya, beaten almost to death. Before dying from his injuries, he whispers to Kyle, "Don't let them turn you into something you're not." His death hits Kyle like a hammer, awakening the realization that the battle he must now fight is within himself, for inner peace and reclaiming the man he once was. Billy's body is discarded like trash, a stark reminder of the prison's cruelty. Soon, another fight is scheduled. Kyle is set to face Valya, the same prisoner who had brutally tortured Billy. But this time, Kyle crouches on the ground with a blank, unyielding expression, refusing to engage no matter how viciously Valya attacks him. "Get up, fight!" the warden roars, enraged at his failed bets. Infuriated, he calls off the match and orders Kyle punished. Guards string him up on an iron frame, leaving him to bake under the sun by day and shiver in the rain at night. Yet Kyle does not eat, does not drink, and refuses to surrender. He would rather die hanging than participate in another fight. Meanwhile, 451 continues his own path of vengeance. "This for you from Billy," he mutters as he pours lighter fluid on Malachi and sets him ablaze, avenging his fallen friend. Watching Malachi burn, 451 recalls his own traumatic childhood experience of setting a cruel teacher on fire. "I finally understand the temperature is 451 degrees, he whispers. Kyle's unyielding resistance begins to inspire other inmates. Gang leaders like Victor are moved, extending hands to rival leaders in truce. When the next tournament arrives, none of the prison factions is willing to fight. Furious, the warden realizes Kyle has ruined his spectacle. If we kill him, he becomes a martyr. We must destroy his mystique in front of everyone. But for now, he releases Kyle, sending him to the infirmary to recover before returning him to solitary confinement, back to his dark cell and the familiar knocking on the wall from 451. Days later, the warden stages a final public spectacle to crush Kyle's defiance. But instead of guards, he unleashes Milo, a monstrous, masked prisoner who had always been isolated. Kyle had heard his menacing knocks through the walls of solitary. Milo, towering and wild, breaks free and charges at Kyle. Attempting to flee upstairs, Kyle is thrown against a wall. As Milo strangles him, Kyle desperately slaps the metal door. The rhythm catches Milo's attention. It's Kyle. Tears stream as he reaches out and gently touches Kyle's face. Companions in darkness reunited. The warden panics and orders guards to shoot Kyle. Realizing he is doomed, Kyle provokes them. "Kill me!" The inmates riot in response, shouting in outrage. Mock charges forward, taking bullets but slamming guards aside, breaking the iron gate. Chaos erupts, Prisoners storm the yard, and the warden flees. Kyle holds Mock's hand as he dies, silently thanking him for his sacrifice. The riot is suppressed when the warden calls in heavily armed troops. Kyle breaks open his cell door and rescues 451, but the yard is filled with gunfire. Many prisoners fall. Forced to retreat, Kyle listens as 451 finally opens up. "Everyone that killed me here talks too much. People say one thing and do another." Exhausted, Kyle admits he wants to escape this hell. "I can get your house," 451 offers. But first, Kyle must fight one last match and smuggle out his diary containing decades of evidence of murder and corruption orchestrated by the warden. After the fight, they take you to a field and shoot you. That's your escape. 451 guides Kyle to a secret passage leading to the prison garage. Soon, Kyle faces Valia, ruthless and once Billy's tormentor. But Kyle is no longer the man who entered prison. With nothing to lose, he fights with relentless precision. Valia initially dominates with size and strength, but Kyle's technique turns the tide. In a swift, brutal move, Kyle snaps Valia's arm. Cornered and desperate, Valia pulls a hidden knife, only for Kyle to catch his wrist midair and redirect the blade into Valia's boss nearby. A final act of justice. As 451 predicted, Kyle wins. The guards handcuff him and lead him quietly to the garage, their execution site, not an exit. 451 strikes, taking down one guard, while Kyle wrestles the other to the ground and holds him at gunpoint. Disarmed, Kyle reclaims the ring stolen from him, a symbol of the life he lost. 451 tosses him a guard's uniform and points to the warden's car. "This is your part, I got mine," 451 says, refusing to leave, choosing instead to finish his own plan. He hands Kyle the diary. Driving the warden's car, Kyle passes every checkpoint unchallenged, smuggling out the evidence of 20 years of brutality, murder, and corruption. He is free. Meanwhile, 451 infiltrates the warden's office, pliers in hand. Moments later, guards find the warden collapsed, his tongue ripped out, silenced forever. Though 451 may spend the rest of his life behind bars, he ensures the truth survives. Kyle returns to the United States, revealing everything. 3 months later, Crubby Prison is shut down, its reign of terror ended. Kyle, once a meek engineer who lost everything, is now a survivor who reclaimed his life while exposing a system built on violence and corruption. Like and subscribe for more recaps like this.